Welcome to the Girl Talk Mental Health. Girl Talk Mental Health dares to go where others won't. We unpack the hard truths about mental health, dissect trending topics, and challenge the stereotypes and stigmas holding us back. From navigating the 6 dimensions of wellness to redefining social norms, this is more than a discussion. It's a revolution in how we care for our minds and souls. Ready for bold, honest conversations that spark change? Let's dive in. It's time for real talk with real impact.
If you've ever felt judged for having a diagnosis, afraid to speak up, or even ashamed to get help, you are not alone. And today, we're breaking those chains together. I'm your host of Girl Talk Mental Health, Virginia Dale Manning, and today's episode is not just important, it's very, very necessary. We're diving into the deep end with a topic that still scares people today: mental health stigma. Why are we still whispering about therapy? And why is silence still the norm in so many families, churches, and cultures? I'm joined by a powerful guest, Tenya Eickenberg, an energy healer and certified life and self-care coach who empowers individuals to release emotional baggage and realign their energy. So welcome our special guest.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell the audience a little bit about who you are.
Gosh, there's so many different facets of me. What brings me to where I am today is I love helping individuals to feel empowered about being able to heal from whatever it is that is holding them back in some way, whether it's anxiety, depression, not feeling good enough, not having enough success. I want people to really embrace the the strength that they really do have inside of them and really dig into it.
Okay, great. So let's dive into our juicy topic today, all about stigma therapy 101. You're going to help guide us through this sensitive topic that we have going on today in this world. So, are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. So, let's start with your story, a little bit about your story. So, what was your first encounter with mental health stigma and how did it shape your journey?
Wow. My first um uh, experience with mental health stigma was actually when I was a kid. My mom was diagnosed with being bipolar when I was 7 or 8 years old. And, in the 80s, there was not a whole lot of information for individuals to access on how to handle their mental health. It was the only place that people could find resources was through their mental health professionals or through doctors. And even then, I think that the resources were quite limited.
Mhm.
Um, and it was from what I can remember. Now, again, this was 40 years ago. Um, it was you go to therapy once a week if you can afford it. Take some medication, and we'll reevaluate you once every month or so to see how
Mhm.
you're doing. There wasn't, at least it wasn't passed on that there was other things that you could do to help your mental health.
Mhm.
And if there was, there weren't many classes on how to do it. You had to kind of figure things out for yourself. And
Mhm.
then if you did figure out things for yourself, nobody was there to tell you that you can't stop doing these things.
Mhm.
Right? It was the self-care aspect that was not taught or handed down through generations that
Mhm.
that we needed to be able to not only be able to do, but given the time to do.
Hmm. That's interesting that you say that because my journey as well is because my mom had severe depression. which is why I'm a mental health therapist today. And then that's why I want to create the Girl Talk Mental Health platform to educate
Mhm.
a plethora of people with a plethora of ideas, a plethora of viewpoints, so that people can start being more comfortable with other outlets and other ways that mental health can affect you as well. Like it's so much more than just our own personal four corners,
Yeah.
right? It's a very big epidemic, pandemic, whatever they want to call it. It's probably at pandemic level now, right? It used to be.
It is. It really is. It's
Mhm,
been a decades long pandemic.
mhm,
One that does not warrant shutting things down so that people can reevaluate and realign with where they need to be. I think the COVID pandemic was amazing in that respect, as it gave people time to step back and go, okay, wait a minute. I'm now not working 60 to 80 hours a week.
mhm.
What else is there to do?
If you use the time wisely anyway, to revamp and to rethink the trajectory of their lives and how to self-reflect. I know a lot of self-reflecting probably was going on, and couples reflecting, because now we're stuck in the house together. Like, let's reevaluate some things. So, and I don't think that it should have to be at that level where we do sit back and reflect and ponder and strategize on our lives. I think mental health, you should do that daily, actually all through the
Absolutely.
day. Mhm.
Absolutely. I can remember when my mom started teaching kids in the neighborhood meditation. And
Mm,
this was early on in her diagnosis. And so
mhm,
she knew what she needed to do in order to have a healthy mind, to be able to combat and work through her mental illness. However, over the years, it didn't stick. It wasn't something that she really taught us kids, to a point where, like, we understood that we needed to really take care of our mental health. We needed to put ourselves first in a way so that we could be there for other people. I was still told that I had to think of others first before thinking of myself.
mhm, the people pleasing, huh?
Yeah, and even though there are times when you do need to do that,
Mhm,
when you are constantly told that, it sets that belief that you don't matter.
mhm. Yeah,
And
you put people before yourself, and now you need to take care of you
right,
before you're able to take care of other people.
right. And now, even though my kids are in their mid to late 20s,
Mhm,
they know that self-care is something that they need to do, but it's only been something I've been able to teach them the last probably 4 or 5 years,
mm.
because it wasn't something that I regularly practiced until 4 or 5 years ago.
Right,
But
right.
but
That's
even
good.
though they're adults, they're still learning from me. And so I
Mhm,
always stress to them, take care of yourself first.
mhm,
And if that means you have to get up an hour before work to get in your meditation and to get that time in to get yourself ready for the day, then that's what you have to do.
mhm.
That's
That's good that you modeling the way to do that, because that's important, because kids don't do what you say to do, they do what they see you do.
well, not only that, but they don't always believe what their parents say. Sometimes it takes a third party or even a
Uh-huh.
fourth party for them to really grasp onto it. So even though they know what I stand for, they know what I suggest, it's really still up to them to pull the trigger and take those actions. And
Mhm.
that goes for all of us, you
And
know.
not to mention, because that stigma too goes to teenagers and
It
even
does.
as early as elementary now, of not wanting to go to therapy, or oh that C word, oh you have this going on with you and that going on with you. It starts real early with teasing and bullying. So
Mhm.
then people don't go get the help that they need.
Right. Well, not only that, but there's, you know, the kids are supposed to go to school for a certain number of days every year, right? And there doesn't leave room for mental health days when kids need them. It's there's not that space for kids to understand when they need to pull back. They're not taught to listen to their bodies. They're not taught to stand up and say, no, I really don't feel good today. and I really need to stay home, or I really can't be in that classroom. We lump all these kids together because it's easier to teach them in that setting, and I get that. I have 3 grown kids. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I can remember when my daughter would tell me that she had a headache or her stomach hurt, and I would say, no, it doesn't. You just want to stay home from school. You need to get up and go to school. And I have apologized to her so many times for not validating how she was feeling, not
Mm-hmm.
validating that she was feeling sick, because she really was. And that was it. That was the side effects of having anxiety.
That's what I was gonna say, and it could have been not a physical illness. It could have been her
Right.
upset stomach, upset about going to school for another reason.
Exactly. But I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I think that because that training, being a parent is the hardest job that we are ever going to have. And then
Absolutely.
it's being a teacher after that. I think those are the 2 hardest jobs that we have to do. But if we are not taught the signs to look out for our kids, it then falls to school,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think because there is so much going on with schools, there are so many different subjects that can be covered. I really think that there needs to be a mental health parenting class
Mm-hmm.
starting when your kids start pre-K or kindergarten, and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, parents, here's a free class. It's going to last 8 weeks. And we're going to tell you these are the signs to look out for. If your child is feeling depressed, if they're feeling anxiety, if they're being bullied, like, these are the things that we as parents need to be taught, but we don't know where to find these resources all the time,
Mm-hmm.
especially if we don't know what we don't know.
Right. Well, thank goodness it is May and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you are making us very aware of a lot of things that we don't know. But another thing to piggyback off of the school thing, like maybe I don't know now because my kids are grown and I'm out of the loop with the school thing, but maybe PTAs are doing something
They
like that
might be.
now.
They
Mm-hmm.
might be. Yeah, my kids haven't been in school. We realized my twins have graduated 7 years ago, so
Mm-hmm.
it's been quite a while since my kids
Right.
have been in school, and I don't have grandkids yet that are in school. So,
Mm-hmm.
it would be wonderful if that was, if one of the listeners after listening to this says, can tell us that, yeah, there are programs like that out there, and
Mm-hmm.
how what's the word I'm looking for? How much access do parents have to them?
Absolutely. And then so piggyback off of that as well, like so why do you think certain communities still view mental illness as a personal failure rather than a health issue like with your daughter, like the experience you had with your daughter?
It's inherited beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
It's beliefs that are passed down from generation to generation, that are saying that, oh, no, that's all in your head. And while, yeah, it is in our head, it's not to be dismissed. It's not just in our head, it's in our complete body. It's in, these beliefs that, um you should just pull up your bootstraps and suck it up, buttercup, and move along, does not work.
Mm-mm.
And it has not worked for generations, but yet there are many families um that don't do the work to shift that. Although I
Mm-hmm.
think that's changing, especially
It is.
in my world. I see a lot of Gen X and millennials who are stepping up to the plate, saying, no, this is no longer going to continue in our family. We're
Mm-hmm.
going
They are
to,
very outspoken now and the kids
yeah,
nowadays. So the key is to have them outspoken on the right topics is the key, right?
right. But then you have those older generations who are be like, these kids are weak.
Mm-hmm.
And that is
Yeah.
that is so uncalled for. So
Especially if
uncalled
parents
for.
do that. That's
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
teachers or whoever
Right.
authority figures. who
Right.
they look up
It's your
to.
aunts, your I mean, people think that it's just our parents who are influencing our mental health. It's not.
Mm,
It's our teachers, it's our uncles, our aunts, it's our grandparents, it's our the strangers on the street.
the librarian, the grocery,
Right.
the person in the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's I
You
call
know,
them impressions. We get a lot of different impressions throughout our lives that influence us a lot.
yeah. Social media, gosh, oh my gosh. Real quick story. I posted my son's car up for sale. He had a
Mhm,
car that he wanted to work on. And I did very little research on how much this car is worth.
mhm,
Okay. I posted it for, I think it was like 5 grand. And of course, it was probably high. I'm not a car person. I just went off of what I saw. And so that's what I posted it for. I'm like, or best offer.
mhm.
And one of the comments was just so astonishing to me. And it was basically saying that she's a crackhead for posting it for this much because she's selling it for her crackhead son. And I'm like, you don't even know me. But that's where some of this bulliness and this mental health stigma comes from, is from these people who hide behind their social media handles
Hmm.
and feel like they can say things like that because there's no ramifications.
Right. And as they say, hurt people hurt people. So
Right.
sometimes you have to think about that too. They
Right.
way across the country or somewhere or whatever,
Yeah.
tapping into your business
Right.
for
Right.
no reason.
Yep. Yeah. So I
Absolutely.
just told him, I'm like, look, you can talk me down on the price, but don't talk down to me.
Hmm.
It's not appropriate.
All right,
And
senior. Let's take a quick commercial break and then we'll get back into that because this is a serious topic and for serious information. And we'll be right back.
You weren't meant to break, you were set apart. What if your deepest pain was the birthplace of your greatest purpose? Meet Gingerbread, a child caught in the chaos of her mother's depression and suicide attempts. She never asked for trauma, shame, or to feel invisible, but she found something greater. Set Apart, the journey to find hope through loneliness, shame, and death is more than a book. It's the breakthrough you didn't know you needed. If you've ever said, "I'm fine," when you were falling apart. If you've ever thought, "This story isn't for me," it is. Don't let fear, excuses, or busyness rob you of healing. This book will shatter the silence, stir your soul, and remind you, you were never forgotten. You were set apart. Set Apart. The Journey to Find Hope in Times of Shame, Loneliness, and Death by author Virginia Dale Manning. Available now, because hope can't wait.
All right, so welcome back to the second half of Girl Talk Mental Health. We have our friend here, Tenya of Design. What's the name of the company?
design your existence.
Design Your Existence. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Cliche for the Mental Health Wellness Month. So, and we're talking about how people develop those habits and
Yeah.
how people different impressions mold the way that you view your mental health and take care of it and the stigmas and statistics and stereotypes. So how do we unlearn the shame about needing help, especially for women who are always seen as the strong ones? Actually, some men are doing that these days too. The head of the what you call them, the caregivers, the stay at home dads. That's the
Yeah.
word I'm looking for. So how do they unlearn the shame they developed over the years growing up?
Oh gosh. For me, I tried starting out with mindset work. I did all of the affirmations, the shifting, trying to shift my beliefs. But I had all of this, and this is where my energy work comes in. I had all of this energetic stuff going on underneath that would continue to influence the beliefs that I grew up with. And there was different parts of me that were just battling with how can I change these beliefs? How can and not really, because whenever you start to shift your beliefs from what your parents have taught you, there is that feeling of you're leaving them behind. You're going to disappoint them because you no longer believe what you were taught. And so I found that I had some of these energetic, they're just like these energetic bubbles that sit within your energy system within your body. They're just kind of like these bubbles that bounce around and cause problems, but they're full of these beliefs and emotions. And when we can tap into our subconscious and help to release those energies, it actually helps to free up space so that it's easier to do the conscious work in shifting our beliefs and understanding that we are enough, that there isn't shame in being sad. There isn't shame in being mad or feeling guilty. They are just emotions. They are messages from our body, and we shouldn't be labeling them good or bad. Because if we can just look at them as they are within the moment, like, why am I mad that I got a flat tire? Well, you're mad that you got a flat tire because it might make you late for work, or you forgot to put the spare back into the car the last time you had a flat tire, and so you didn't have that donut to put on. Really really look at why you're mad, and then if you can't figure it out, it might not even be your stuff that is making you mad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It could be energies from an event that you're feeling because when you were a kid on a family vacation, your family got a flat tire and your dad got out of the car and slammed the car door and started swearing and just having an awful time, and that's what you equate getting a flat tire to.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we don't always remember those little events, but they shape us, and
Mm-hmm.
they can trigger us.
And
And
then just like when you're dealing with your mental health, and sometimes you tell people, a lot of times it's from some kind of childhood
yeah,
something, that made those impressions, and people don't seem to believe that all the time. They like, well, I went to college, I'm successful, I'm this, I'm that. That surely couldn't be the reason why I'm depressed at
yeah,
35.
right,
No, it could be you just were managing
absolutely,
it well. Yeah, or you were so busy in life that you really didn't stop and pay attention to it. But then when you had to stop because life kind of slowed down, now that you have a
mhm,
career, now you faced with it.
right. And you could absolutely look back at your childhood and go, I had a good childhood. And I can say that now. I had a childhood that was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I grew up with a mother who was bipolar and there was a lot of fighting going on, I didn't have a lot of physical abuse. I didn't have sexual abuse. I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of things going on in my life. But what I did have did affect me.
Yeah, we have so much in common.
you
I
know,
call my trauma child gingerbread.
yeah. And I don't have very many memories from before 8 years old.
Mhm.
So there is definitely stuff that happened in my childhood that I don't remember that did affect me.
Right. Well, suppression is real for
Yeah.
real.
It is. It
Mhm.
is. But that's why I loved energy work so much, is
Mhm.
because I didn't have to remember in
Mhm.
order to clear away the trauma energies.
Mhm.
But it let me, by clearing those, it let me heal.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the energy works, because that could be the practical step. Because that was going to be the next question. Like, give us a practical step. Tell us a little more how the energy work that you do could help a person who's probably stuck in their mental health.
Yeah, so the what I would recommend is look into the emotion code. It is a technique of using muscle testing to find trapped emotions in your body. And these are
Mm.
emotions that you didn't feel during an event. These are emotions that you could have absorbed from other people or share with somebody, but they can impact how you're feeling. And this is what I used because for me, when I started looking into my anxiety and depression in 2018 and really focusing on healing it, the talk therapy and the medication did not work for me. And it did work in previous years, but at that moment, it did not work for me anymore. And the emotion code, to be able to tap into these subconscious emotions and letting go of those energies on a conscious level, allowed that space so that I could relearn how to feel my emotions. so that I could relearn how to set boundaries with people that were making me uncomfortable.
Mm,
And
that's good.
that is what helped me to heal my chronic anxiety and depression.
Okay. Well, we're winding down to the end of Girl Talk Mental Health, and I am at my favorite part, which is the spotlight question. So, are you ready for the spotlight
Yes.
question?
Yes.
All right. Really quickly, give us one mindset shift you believe could transform how we approach mental health and wellness in our daily lives.
Bring yourself into this moment. Bring yourself into the moment in which you're feeling right there. Try not to go into the past. Don't worry about what's going to happen in the future, but bring yourself right into this moment. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I feeling? Because a lot of times we don't even know what exactly we're feeling because we're so worried about what's going to happen and we are ruminating on what has happened.
Okay, that's
Put
good.
yourself in
That's
the
good.
present moment and ask, what am
Mhm.
I feeling right now?
Good. Well, we appreciate you giving us a plethora of tips and tools and sharing your personal experience with us. So tell us where we can find you at if they want to connect with you, and then if you have a special offer for them.
So you can find me on my website at Design Your Existence or designyourexistence.com and on all social medias at Design Your Existence. And I do have a free gift. It is an email series on how to love yourself in 4 weeks or less.
Thanks her for visiting us, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us for Girl Talk Mental Health. Remember, your mental health is your wealth. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to at Virginia Del Manning.